Midnight. Somewhere in no man's land between the trenches of Ypres, Belgium, 1915, a figure moves through the darkness, not walking, crawling, inch by inch through mud, past barbed wire, past the dying soldiers crying for help in shell craters. He moves without sound, without leaving tracks, like he's part of the earth itself. In his hands, a Ross rifle, Canadian made, everyone else hates it, jams constantly. But in his hands it never jams, never misses. German sentries 200 yards away don't see him, don't hear him, don't know death is watching them through iron sights. Francis Pegahmagabow settles into position, motionless, patient. He's been trained for this his entire life, not by the Canadian Army, by the forests of Georgian Bay, by his Ojibwe elders who taught him to hunt, to track, to become invisible. A German officer steps into view, checking the wire, making sure his men are alert. He has no idea he's already dead. Pegahmagabow's finger tightens on the trigger. The Ross rifle speaks. One shot. The officer drops. Before the body hits the ground, Pegahmagabow is moving, backwards, silent, gone, like a ghost. By dawn he's back in Canadian trenches. The Germans never knew he was there. By war's end he'll have done this 378 times. 378 confirmed kills. The deadliest sniper of World War I. On either side. German, British, French, anyone. 300 more Germans captured. The most decorated Indigenous soldier in Canadian history. But his country will treat him like he doesn't matter. This is the story of the man they called Peggy. The man who never missed. The ghost of the trenches. March 9th, 1891. Shawanaga First Nation, Georgian Bay, Ontario. Francis Pegahmagabow enters the world as the only child of Michael Pegahmagabow and Mary Contin. He's Ojibwe Anishinaabe, Caribou clan, part of the Wasauksing First Nation. But before he's even old enough to remember, tragedy strikes. His father dies of illness, his mother falls sick, unable to care for him. Young Francis is raised by his great-uncle, Noah Nebamanikwud, an elder who had also raised Francis's orphaned father. It's a pattern. Tragedy creating warriors. Nebamanikwud teaches the boy everything: how to fish, how to hunt, how to read the forest, how to move without disturbing a single leaf. Traditional Anishinaabe spirituality mixed with Roman Catholicism. The customs, the medicine, the respect for all living things. Francis spends his childhood in the woods, learning patience, learning stillness, learning that the best hunters don't chase their prey. They become part of the landscape and let the prey come to them. At age 12, Francis leaves school, starts working, lumber camps, fishing stations, hard labor, eventually becomes a marine fireman working the Great Lakes for the Department of Marine and Fisheries. Tough work, physical work, work that builds endurance. At 21, he learns to read and write English, rare skill for his generation. Most Indigenous people weren't given that opportunity. But Francis wants more, wants to prove himself, wants to matter. August 1914. War explodes in Europe. Germany invades Belgium. Britain declares war. Canada, still a British dominion, is automatically at war. The call goes out for volunteers. Across Canada, men flood recruiting stations. But there's a problem. The Canadian government has officially prohibited Indigenous people from enlisting. They're not considered real citizens. They're wards of the state, can't vote, can't own land off the reserve, can't even leave the reserve without permission from an Indian agent. But Francis Pegahmagabow doesn't care about bureaucracy. August 13th, 1914. 10 days after war is declared. He walks into a recruiting station and enlists. The 23rd Regiment, Northern Pioneers. They accept him. Within weeks, he's transferred to the One Stone Canadian Infantry Battalion, One Stone Canadian Division, part of the first contingent of Canadian troops sent overseas, 20,000 men. Francis is one of them. At training camp, CFB Valcartier, Francis does something that makes the other soldiers notice. He decorates his tent with traditional symbols. A caribou, the symbol of his clan. While other soldiers are homesick, scared, uncertain, Francis is calm, centered. He carries an Ojibwe medicine pouch his elder gave him. His fellow soldiers start calling him Peggy, shortened version of his name that white Canadians can pronounce. He doesn't mind. He knows who he is. October 1914. The 1 Stone Battalion ships to England for additional training. Trench warfare, gas mask drills, bayonet practice. The British instructors are preparing them for hell. February 1915, they land in France. The Western Front, 400 miles of trenches from Switzerland to the North Sea, millions of men facing each other across no man's land, artillery bombardments, machine guns, barbed wire, death measured in yards gained at the cost of thousands of lives. The 1 Stone Battalion is assigned to the Ypres salient, a bulge in the Allied lines that the Germans are constantly trying to pinch off, one of the most dangerous positions on the entire Western Front. April 1915. Second Battle of Ypres. Francis Pegahmagabow is about to experience something that will change warfare forever. The Germans have a new weapon. At 5 p.m. on April 22nd, German soldiers open nearly 6,000 canisters of chlorine gas. The wind carries it toward French colonial troops holding the line north of the Canadians. The soldiers watch in horror as a yellow-green cloud rolls toward them. It looks like morning fog. It's not. It's death. Men breathe it in. Their lungs burn. They drown on dry land. Thousands die. Thousands more are incapacitated. The French line collapses. The Germans advance. But the Canadians hold. They urinate on handkerchiefs and hold them over their faces. Primitive gas masks. It helps. Barely. For 3 days, the 1 Stone Battalion fights in hell. Half of them die. Artillery shells, gas, machine gun fire. Francis survives. How? Nobody knows. He says later it was the medicine pouch, his belief that the old ways would protect him. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was skill. Maybe it was destiny. But he survives. And during this battle, he discovers his gift. While other soldiers panic in the chaos, Francis becomes calm, focused. His childhood training takes over. The German soldiers across no man's land aren't deer or caribou. But the principles are the same. Patience, stillness, 1 shot, 1 kill. Francis Pegahmagabow becomes a sniper and a scout, the 2 deadliest jobs in the entire war. Sniping in World War I isn't glamorous. It's not like the movies. It's lying in mud for hours, sometimes days, waiting for a single shot, getting covered in your own filth. Rats crawling over you, artillery shells landing close enough to bury you. Cold, wet, hungry. Most snipers don't last long. They get counter-sniped, killed by enemy snipers hunting them, or caught by artillery, or gassed. Average life expectancy measured in weeks. Francis will do it for 4 years. His weapon is the Ross rifle, Canadian designed. Beautiful rifle, accurate. But it has a fatal flaw. The bolt jams constantly, gets dirty, jams, gets wet, jams, under stress, jams. Canadian soldiers hate it. They throw them away and pick up British Lee Enfields from dead soldiers. But not Francis. In his hands, the Ross never jams. He maintains it perfectly, keeps it clean, treats it like a sacred object, and it rewards him with precision. His technique is simple. At night, he crawls into no man's land, finds a position, shell crater, behind a rock, anywhere with a good view of German lines. He settles in, doesn't move. Hours pass. The Germans think no man's land is empty. They get careless. An officer checks the wire. A soldier lights a cigarette. A sniper in a German trench looks through his scope. They don't see Pegahmagabow. He's invisible, part of the landscape. Then he fires. 1 shot. They fall. He's already moving, backwards, silent. By the time the Germans react, he's gone. They never know where the shot came from. They start to fear the darkness, start to believe the Canadians have a ghost hunting them. June 1916, Battle of Mount Sorrel. The Germans launch a massive offensive, capture Canadian positions. The Canadians counterattack. Francis is there, not just sniping now, also working as a scout, running messages between headquarters and frontline units, under fire constantly. Most message runners die. The Germans target them specifically, kill the runners, break communication, win the battle. Francis runs through artillery barrages, machine gun fire. He's shot at hundreds of times, never hit. The medicine pouch, his speed, his knowledge of the ground. Something keeps him alive. On June 3, 1916, Francis Pegahmagabow becomes one of the first Canadians awarded the military medal for facing enemy fire repeatedly, while carrying vital messages along the lines during the battles at Ypres, Festubert, and Givenchy. The citation is unheard dry, official. It doesn't capture what it means. Dozens of missions, under fire, never failed, never stopped. The messages get through because Francis gets through. July 1916. The Somme, the bloodbath, the worst battle in human history up to that point. Over 1 million casualties, British, French, German. The ground is a wasteland, shell craters filled with water, bodies everywhere, the smell unbearable. Francis fights through all of it. September 1916. He's shot. Left leg. He's finally hit. The wound is serious. He's evacuated, spends weeks recovering, but he refuses to go home, returns to the front as soon as he can walk. November 1917. Passchendaele. If the Somme was hell, Passchendaele is hell's basement. The battlefield is a swamp. Soldiers drown in shell craters. Artillery has destroyed all drainage. Men fight through mud that reaches their waists. 20,000 Allied soldiers crawl from crater to crater. Many don't make it, drown in the mud, sink without trace. Francis has been promoted to corporal by now. During the Passchendaele assault, his role becomes critical. The 1 Stone Battalion's reinforcements get lost. In the chaos of battle, in the maze of craters and mud, entire units lose direction. Francis volunteers. He goes out into the maelstrom, finds the lost units, guides them to their positions, under fire the entire time, artillery, machine guns, gas. He keeps moving, keeps guiding, saves the attack. His citation for the bar to his military medal reads, "At Passchendaele, November 6th, 7th, 1917, this NCO did excellent work. Before and after the attack, he kept in touch with the flanks, advising the units he had seen, this information proving the success of the attack and saving valuable time in consolidating. He also guided the relief to its proper place, after it had become mixed up." That's the official version. What it doesn't say, Francis probably saved hundreds of lives that night, units that would have been annihilated if they'd been in the wrong position, attacks that would have failed without proper coordination. He's not just a sniper now, he's a force multiplier, one man making an entire battalion more effective. August 30th, 1918. Battle of the Scarpe. Near the end of the war, the Allies are winning now, pushing the Germans back. But the Germans aren't beaten yet, they counterattack. Hard. Francis's company is defending Oryx Trench near Upton Wood. The Germans hit them with everything, artillery, machine guns, infantry assault. The Canadians fight back. But they're running out of ammunition. Critically low. If they run out, they're finished. The Germans will overrun their position, kill them or capture them. Francis sees what needs to happen. Someone has to go get ammunition from the supply dump, across open ground, under fire. It's suicide. He volunteers. Francis Pegahmagabow runs into no man's land. Machine gun fire tears up the ground around him. Bullets snap past his head. He keeps running, reaches the supply dump, loads ammunition, runs back, makes it. His company holds. They beat back the German counterattack. For this action, Francis receives his 2nd bar to the military medal. He becomes one of only 39 Canadians in the entire war to receive the military medal with 2 bars. Each bar represents a separate act of extraordinary valor. 3 times decorated, 3 times he did something that most men couldn't do once. By war's end, the numbers are staggering. 378 confirmed kills. the highest of any sniper in World War I, German, British, French, American, anyone. But Francis doesn't brag, doesn't talk about it. His son Duncan later recalled his father saying he was responsible for capturing 300 enemy soldiers. My mother told me he used to go behind enemy lines, rub shoulders with the enemy forces and never get caught. Think about that. Behind enemy lines. In German-occupied territory. An Ojibwe man who looks nothing like a European. Moving among German soldiers. Never caught. It sounds impossible. But the records confirm he captured 300 prisoners. How? By being a ghost, by being invisible, by using every skill his elders taught him. November 11th, 1918. 11 a.m. The guns fall silent. The armistice. The war is over. Francis Pegahmagabow has survived 4 years of continuous combat. From Ypres to the Somme, to Passchendaele, to the final battles of 1918. He was there for all of it. Most decorated Indigenous soldier in Canadian history, most effective sniper of the war, one of the most valuable soldiers in the entire Canadian Expeditionary Force. In April 1919, Francis is invalided back to Canada. The journey home should be triumphant. Heroes welcome, medals, recognition, respect. He's awarded the 1914-15 star, the British War Medal, and the Victory Medal, in addition to his military medal with 2 bars. In June 1919, he's among nearly 200 veterans decorated by the visiting Prince of Wales, the future King Edward VIII, at the Canadian National Exhibition. But when Francis returns to Wasauksing First Nation, reality hits. He's a decorated veteran. He fought for 4 years, killed hundreds of enemy soldiers, saved countless Canadian lives. But in Canada, he's still an Indian, still a ward of the state, still can't vote, still subject to the Indian Act. Still needs permission from an Indian agent to leave the reserve, the same rights he fought to defend. He doesn't have them. His lungs are damaged. The chlorine gas at Ypres caused irreparable harm. He develops breathing problems so severe he has to sleep sitting upright to keep his lungs from filling with fluid. He needs disability benefits, medical care, support. The Canadian government denies him. No evidence of service-related injury, never mind the military medal with 2 bars, never mind the 4 years of combat, never mind the gas attack that killed half his battalion. Denied. Francis Pegahmagabow could have given up, could have retreated into bitterness. Instead, he fights. Different battlefield, same warrior spirit. He becomes chief of the Wasauksing First Nation. Serves from 1921 to 1925, then again from 1942 to 1945. He fights for treaty rights, fights against the Indian agents who have dictatorial power over the reserves, fights for basic dignity and justice. In the 1940s, he joins national Indigenous organizing, attends conferences, connects with other Indigenous leaders, Fred Loft, Jules Suey, Andrew Paul, John Tutusis, building a movement, fighting for rights. 1949, Francis becomes Supreme Chief of the National Indian Government, an organization dedicated to Indigenous rights and self-determination. He's fighting the same system he once defended. The irony isn't lost on him. By the 1950s, his war injuries are catching up. His lungs are failing. The gas, the years of sleeping upright, the strain of breathing through damaged tissue. August 5th, 1952. Parry Sound, Ontario. Francis Pegahmagabow dies of a heart attack. He's 61 years old. He's buried in a military grave at Parry Sound, full military honors. But few people attend. Few people remember. The most deadly sniper of World War I, the most decorated Indigenous soldier in Canadian history, buried in relative obscurity. For decades, he's forgotten. His story untold. His achievements unrecognized. Why? Same reason he was denied disability benefits. Same reason he couldn't vote. Same reason he needed permission to leave the reserve. Systemic racism. But slowly, recognition comes. 1990s. Indigenous activists start campaigning, telling his story, demanding recognition. 2003. His family donates his medals and chief headdress to the Canadian War Museum. They become part of the permanent World War I display. 2006. The 3rd Canadian Ranger Patrol Group headquarters at CFB Borden is renamed in his honor. 2016. A 10-foot bronze statue is unveiled in Parry Sound. Pegahmagabow in his uniform, an eagle above, a caribou at his side. The caribou represents his clan. The eagle represents his role as scout and messenger. The rock at his feet resembles the Canadian shield, his homeland. 2019. Francis Pegahmagabow is designated a National Historic Person, official recognition that his contributions matter, that his story is part of Canada's story. Today he's remembered. Schools teach his story. Books are written about him. His name is known. But it took 70 years after his death, 70 years for Canada to properly honor the man who fought for 4 years to defend it. The statistics tell the story. 378 confirmed kills, 300 prisoners captured, 4 years of frontline combat, the military medal with 2 bars, one of only 39 Canadians to receive that honor, survived the first chlorine gas attack, survived the Somme, survived Passchendaele, survived every major Canadian battle of World War I, never stopped fighting, in war, in peace, for his country, for his people. But the real story isn't the numbers, it's the man. Francis Pegahmagabow rarely spoke about his military service. When asked, he was humble, matter of fact. His son Duncan remembered him as a Ibrashy peaceful man. He was always saying how we have to live in harmony with all living things in this world. A peaceful man who was the deadliest sniper in the war. That's not a contradiction, that's understanding. Francis understood that war was sometimes necessary, but killing wasn't something to celebrate. It was something you did because it had to be done, to protect your comrades, to defend your country, even when your country didn't defend you. The Germans never knew his name, they just knew fear. They knew that in the darkness something was hunting them, something they couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't stop. They called the Canadian snipers Totenfalle, death traps. But Francis was different. He wasn't a trap. He was a hunter, using skills passed down through generations, skills his people had perfected over thousands of years, skills the Canadian Army tried to teach but couldn't, because you can't teach what Francis had. You can only inherit it, live it, become it. Today, if you visit Parry Sound, you'll see his statue, 10 feet tall, bronze, eternal. Francis Pegahmagabow standing watch, the rifle in his hands, the medicine pouch at his side, the eagle overhead, the caribou at his feet. Tourists stop, take pictures, read the plaque. Most don't understand what they're looking at. They see a soldier, they should see a legend. The ghost of the trenches. The sniper who never missed. The man who killed 378 enemy soldiers and never lost himself. Who fought 2 wars, one against Germany, one against injustice, and refused to surrender in either. 378 confirmed kills, every one of them a German soldier who never saw him coming, never heard the shot that killed them, just darkness, then nothing. Francis Pegahmagabow, 5 feet 4 years, 378 kills, 3 medals, 2 wars, 1 legend, the deadliest sniper of World War I, Canada's ghost of the trenches, the warrior who never stopped fighting. This is his story, this is his stand, and we will remember.